Sounds tense. Keep up with it.
Streaming. And... Yes, please. Alright, beginning with some Dutch now.
Wij slapen.
We, the stressed form. We. Slapen, long vowel. And this not sound at the end of the verb.
Ik kom niet.
Kom niet. Not coming. Kom. I come not.
De mensen slapen.
De mensen. With that plural marker where the N has dropped out of the sound.
De mensen slapen.
It's not in the verb too. But it's plural, so they'll both have en as their endings. Both the verb slapen and the noun mensen. This mens is related to German. Dutch doesn't really have a sh phoneme the way English and German do. Mens, human being. So German has der Mensch, masculine, even though it's gender neuter term for person. This particular word is masculine. Die Person can also be a person of any gender, but it's a feminine noun. Das Wesen is the being, that's neuter. Those three, masculine, feminine, neuter, are just arbitrary labels for classes of nouns, facts of inflection and agreement. And so what these words come from Mensch and Mens is something like reconstructed. Mannisk. Man for human, the word man, and then an iskas suffix. Manniskas.
De vrouw komt.
De vrouw komt. Woman is coming.
Sorry, de man slaapt.
Sorry. The man is sleeping. The man slaapt.
De katten en de honden slapen.
Okay, with the following E initial word here, we'll hear this N.
Katten.
Katten in isolation.
De katten en de honden slapen.
Katten. There
Katten. En. Katten.
N has a new syllable to hang on to. Katten en de honden.
De katten en de honden slapen.
But in these last two words, honden and slapen, we don't hear the N. De katten en de honden slapen.
De man en de vrouw komen.
Komen. Long vowel thing. The man and the woman. Komen, they are coming.
Ik slaap.
Ik slaap. I sleep.
Slaap je?
So, with inversion here, verb first, then pronoun, is to ask a yes-no question. Are you sleeping? Slaap je. Slaap je. Slaap je. Clearly not working.
Ik kom.
Ik kom.
De uil slaapt niet.
De uil slaapt niet. Does not sleep. Oh, yes. Does not sleep.
Slaap je?
Are you sleeping? Slaap je. I told you.
Slaap je?
Shame on me. Alright, welcome back to Lango Institute. I'm your verb ally, beginning this evening with some Dutch. Language of Western Europe. Let's do another. Pushing. New territory.
De eenden willen brood.
Eenden for ducks. Die Enten willen. German has wollen. The ducks want brood. How do the R's sound? There's just the one in the sentence.
De eenden willen brood.
Uvular trill. And we have the word will that's related with this one.
Willen.
Different word for ducks.
Eenden.
But bread and brood sounds just like the German one, Brot, also B-R-O-T, are all cognates. They come from the same source.
Nee, ik speel niet.
Ik speel niet. No, I don't play. I'm not playing.
De jongens willen een konijn.
Jongens.
De
The
jongens willen een
konijn. A bunny.
konijn.
Rabbit. The boys want a rabbit. So, in German, die Jungen is nominative plural. Dutch adds an S in addition to the N. A parent suffix N. I think that's really a stem piece, or a stem formant, historically. And S is a plural marker.
Zij speelt niet.
Zij speelt niet. So, the verb speelt with the T suffix tells me, third singular. The pronoun is she. Doesn't play.
Jullie spelen niet.
Jullie spelen niet. You don't.
Wil ik de schildpad?
I want the turtle.
Jij wilt slapen.
Wil slapen.
Jij speelt en wij slapen.
Hij speelt en wij slapen. You play and we sleep.
Ik speel.
Ik speel. I play.
De vrouw wil een glas wijn.
Glas.
Wil.
Woman wants a glass of wine.
De olifanten spelen.
Olifanten. For elephants. The elephants. Plural, they play. Are playing.
Jij wilt geen paarden.
You don't want any horses, let's say. Okay, so what English does, as far as negation now, you don't want any horses. Dutch does, as far as negation is, it has this negative determiner with the noun
Geen.
in the noun phrase. These two, geen paarden, no horses, they are within a noun phrase together. Whereas in English, we negate the verb, you don't want, do not want. And then in the noun phrase itself, we have this, it's not really negative, this word any. The thing about any, and words like it, ever, and there's a few others, they're called negative polarity items. They need to be either in a negative construction or in a question. I mean, there are conditions in English where you can get, I'll take just any sandwich. You can have it in an affirmative statement, it's kind of marked. The more natural, more frequent place for it is negative and question constructions.
Ik wil katten en honden.
Ik wil,
Ik wil katten en honden.
that's dark hill, wil katten en honden. I want cats and dogs.
Speel ik?
Speel ik, inversion. Do I play, am I playing? They want a dog. Zij. Zij willen een hond. What? So the en, because the subject is plural, they're plural, and that's a dog, indefinite. Jij wilt een menu. Don't shut up for complete.
Hij hoort de eend.
He hears the duck.
Ziet de jongen aardbeien?
Does the boy, subject, and then the object is the okay, verb is see. Does he see? We say in English. Does the boy see strawberries? Earthberries.
Ik hoor de meisjes.
Or, so here it's not a usually trill, that R. It's a retroflex glide, I think.
Ik hoor de meisjes.
Or the meisjes. I also hear the airplane, as we're talking about. Ik hoor. I hear the meisjes girls.
Zij zien koeien.
Zij zien koeien. They are kind. They are cows. Koeien. With a yod sound. They are cows. They see. Says zij zien. Not zijn. So the verb of being and the verb of seeing are similar sounding. I got them mixed up here. Should be they see.
Wij zien het boek niet.
We zien, we do not see the book. So here's a definite marker. Book, meaning book, is a neuter noun, so it gets het as the article. Niet. Clause final negation. You see the book not. And here's a good illustration of the fact that the object noun phrase is part of the verb phrase. The niet, the negation, is also part of the verb phrase, logically. So here, it's a nice, I don't know, we do have interrupted phrases also, but the fact that the verb phrase is all nice and uninterrupted here, it's a good explanation that that's a thing.
Zij horen de kinderen.
Zij horen. Single vowel letter, but it's that verb of hearing that we just saw. They hear.
Ik zie de hond niet.
Zie de hond niet. I don't see the dog.
Jullie horen de kip.
Jullie, you all, horen. De kip is the chicken.
Jij ziet de katten en de olifanten.
Ziet. So this is the second plural. Not all of the plural ones have an N in the present. This one has a T, just like German seht. Ihr seht. Jij ziet. You all see. De katten en de olifanten. Cats and elephants.
Jij hoort een man.
You, plural. Hoort en man, hear a man.
Ik hoor een dier.
Hoor en deer. How is the R sounded there?
Ik hoor een dier.
Here, with the vowel falling, it sounds like a
1.
hoor.
Ik hoor een dier.
But here, at the end of the sentence, deer sounds retroflex. Pretty cool. Here, now is it an animal, like in German? We have the word deer. That's related to this Dutch word and German Tier, but those two words both mean just animal in general.
Zie je een krab?
Zie je een krab? Do you see a crab?
Ze ziet lekker eten.
So there's an instance. When you have that question word order, the verb is now separated from its object. That's an interrupted phrase. Ze ziet lekker eten. She sees, okay, it's object.
Lekker, ziet, lekker.
Can also be the verb to eat, but here it's a noun meaning food. She sees delicious food. Tasty food.
Wij horen de dieren niet.
Wij horen de dieren niet. We don't hear the animals.
Ze hoort vogels.
Vogels. Hoort with the retroflex. R. She hears vogels. Birds. It's related.
Wij zien het boek niet.
Wij zien, we don't see. We zien het boek niet. We don't see the book.
Zij zien koeien.
Zij zien koeien. They Nice and slowly. Did it again.
Zij zien koeien.
To see or to be? That is the question. See cows. Stumped.
Ze gaat.
This language has a very similar R sound in English. Oh, okay. You want to guess before I just tell you? Yeah, I'm enjoying that too. The fact that one of the allophones is a retroflex R sound, and the other allophone is, well, one other allophone. We've got more than the two, I think. The other one is like a German or French uvular trill R. I will tell you soon, or actually we'll see it written on the screen. I want to give you a chance to hazard a guess or two. Ze gaat. So this is a weak unstressed pronoun form. It would be zij in the full form. She goes, she's going.
Hij maakt middageten.
He makes lunch. Okay. So how could we know? Okay, so one important thing in Nederlands. Neder, there I think retroflex. Nederlands. Is that you have what makes, if you're in a Germanic language and you have de and het proclitics, meaning the, then you are in a West Germanic language, because in the Norse branch, those definite markers are apparently suffixes. I think they're enclitics. That mean the. Should we do a North Germanic language too? Sure we should. Let's do Norwegian. So here we've got two. De man, de soep. De man maakt. The verb's got to agree with the subject, which is first there.
Ik geef een boek.
Geef een boek seems a little incomplete, unless it was clear to whom it was being given. Give a
De jongens kennen het menu.
De jongens, de boys, kennen het menu. No. Menu. Ze gaat. Can only be that verb form. It's related to our word go.
Ik ken de vrouw niet.
Ken de vrouw niet. This verb means to know a person, and it's transitive with a nominal object. I don't know the woman. We negate the verb phrase in English, which should include a verb, don't know, and then the noun is just the basic form. Oh, and in this Dutch one too, it's just the
De,
noun
niet.
phrase. And niet, ken, the verb itself, and niet, the negator, they embrace the object.
De.
Ze geeft de mannen een menu.
Ze geeft de mannen,
Mannen.
een menu.
Ze geeft de mannen een menu.
Een menu. De mannen een menu. She gives the men. Note that there's no umlaut in the plural here on men. A menu. Men a menu. Men, me and you, a menu. Man, a canal. Planamal. We, the unstressed one, looks just like our word we, which is what it means. Kenne is going to be this form. For subject agreement.
De eend gaat.
Eend, singular, the duck is going.
Ze geeft de mannen een menu.
Ze, the weak form, geeft de mannen een menu. Menu from French, that's why it sounds like an U, that letter U. Looks a lot like German, but with a very different spelling system. It's a bit different. One of my favorite features that I'm noticing, coming back to it after many, many years. So you have with these verb stems with a long vowel in them, very consistently spelled, with a double letter in the singular and a single letter in the plural forms, even though it's the very same sound. It saves you. I guess it's like an abbreviation rule for the plural forms.
Nee, jij gaat niet.
Gaat niet. maybe not this verb. I think gaan would have to, wij gaan, we're going, would have to be 2 A's. No, you go not. You do not go. Hij maakt. For subject agreement, a T.
Ken je de eend?
Ken je de eend? Do you know the duck? She gives the men a menu. Ze geeft, double vowel, de mannen, to the men, een menu. The man makes the soup. De man maakt de soep. O-E writes oe. So, let's do a bit of Norwegian. We did some the other day. Maybe we should do... What's one that we haven't looked at in a while? Swedish. The one I feel the most familiar with. Spent a week or two in the country many years ago. Learned a bit in high school.
Hon har ingen hund.
So here in Swedish, see this ingen. What is it? It's not inte. That would be the verbal negator. This is a determiner in the noun phrase. No dog. She has no dog. Because dog is indefinite, it's got no suffix, no article. Hon, she, I guess English, Old English hö would be related, H-E-O, for she. And then har.
Har.
The thing about the Scandinavian languages is there's a single verb form throughout the whole present paradigm. It's har for all 6 persons. First ever read. One of the very first ones that we had as a vocab word. It was like lesson 1 of Dutch words. Had that word ap.
Han har inga böcker.
It's you in Hindi. And ape in German. In Dutch. German, do you know the German for ape? It's a little different. Han har, rather. The R seems to darken the A.
Han har inga böcker.
Har inga böcker. He has no books. Or he doesn't have books. Maybe sounds better. He has no books. Logically they're the same, I guess. We'll try to hew more closely. Affe, der Affe. So. One of those rare P words in Germanic, words with a P consonant. My answer should be inga böcker. So, bok. It's not
Har. Böcker.
We have umlaut in this
Böcker.
like in German Bücher.
Förstår du svenska?
Förstår. Listen to that cluster in the middle.
Förstår du svenska?
Förstår du svenska? What's happening is the R is retroflexing the following dentals. Förstår. I would say it's 2 segments, retroflex S, retroflex T.
Förstår du svenska?
Can't have it across word boundaries to that effect. Förstår. It happens in Norwegian as well, I believe. Do you understand? This is verstehen. It's either inherited from Germanic or it's this verstår verb. It might be modeled on the German verstehen with the cognate components. German had a big influence on the lexicon of Swedish, is my understanding. Do you understand Swedish? It's like a Germanized descendant of Old Norse.
Det finns inget kaffe.
Det finns inget kaffe. Alright, this inget, I know from the suffix that it's part of the noun phrase, because that's a neuter agreement one. Kaffe. Not der Kaffee as in German, but neuter. And det finns is literally there finds itself, or that finds itself. Itself.
Inget finns.
So means there exists. And then no coffee.
Jag har inga frågor.
That finns, that suffix we have in English, the English verb bask. To bask in something comes from a Norse verb, something like bada, sick, to bathe self. So a middle voice deriving thing in a Germanic language. Jag har inga frågor. So ur is a common plural suffix.
Jag har inga frågor.
Jag har inga frågor. So note the different accent pattern in inga, the determiner, negative, and the noun frågor.
Jag har inga frågor.
Frågor. I have no questions.
Hon är svaret.
Hon har svaret. So here we've got a definite noun shown by this T appended to the end. Hon har, she has svaret. We have the cognate with the prefix. It's definite. The and swear. And this sir in answer is related to swear. That's the root. And so in the Swedish noun here, svar, svaret, definite. It's an unprefixed one. It's the swear, the answer.
När kommer du?
När kommer du? När is when.
När?
With the inversion, when are you coming?
Hon är svaret.
Hon har svaret. Svaret. Oh, not han, he, but hon, she.
Vad gör du?
What do you? What are you doing? Now this göra. To do. I wonder if it's related to gear, the noun. Like equipment. Okay. Göra, göra, göra. Old Norse. Gera, göra, görva. Garviana. The noun is an opposition of the verb. Garwas, to prepare. Garviana. Garwas, ready. And so this we could have gear connected to. Garwas. How nice. So, yaru. Yar and yer, whatever these are. German ga. Oh, actually cooked, done. Okay. Ready. Yer, yer. Sami. Okay, borrowed into Samic. Oh, nice. So, gear. Let's look that up directly. Garviana. Okay. See also adjective yer from the same root via Old English. The word gear from Old Norse. Göra. Vad gör du? What are you doing?
Frågan har inget svar.
Frågan, definite. And here we see the agreement with the various noun classes. N is what I'm calling animate, or common gender, just not neuter. I don't know if it's got feminine and masculine, or if it's just a single class. I haven't been able to find that yet.
Har.
What I've looked at in the course, I mean. Har has inget svar. Oh, inget looks like it's definite, but that's an agreement suffix with the following noun. The question is the meaning subject. Has no answer.
Varför gör du det?
Varför gör du det? Det. The T is dropped.
Varför gör du det?
Gör du det? Why? Wherefore? Meaning why? For what? Gör du det? Why are you doing it? Doing it. We could say it or that. Yeah, same word.
När skriver du?
När skriver du? When do you write?
Jag har ingen häst.
Jag har ingen häst. I have no horse.
Förstår du boken?
Förstår du boken? So, with the pure vowel and all
Boken.
single K, the book. Oh, yeah, because that's, okay, interesting. And then the plural was böcker. Hello, thank you for looking. Always welcome. Yeah. Förstår du boken? What's the accent on boken?
Förstår du boken?
Boken. Do you understand the book? So, animate class for book. Unlike German,
Boken.
a lot of gender differences in these Germanic languages.
Jag har inget te.
Yet, T, this reminds me that T is
Te.
neuter. And German has der T, that's kind of chance. T comes from Swedish, it's not an inheritance from Proto-Germanic. So that came into the languages later on, after the breakup. The big breakup. Jag har inget te, I have no tea is the meaning.
Har du ingen katt?
Har du ingen katt? What's on your mind today, Calguru? Any particular languages you're interested in? Have you no cat, sir? Have you at last no cat? We might more likely say, do you have... Don't, yeah, negate the verb phrase. Don't you have a cat? Don't have a cat, man.
Jag har flera frågor.
Jag har flera is, I think, related to file. Why does wherefore mean why? Still have what for? For what? What where had to do with it? Excellent point. My feeling about that is that the where is a combining form. So the compound component in these words, like wherefore. What else is there? Wofür. Wherefore. What else is like that? In this one compound, at least. Is there another? Is that where is a combining form of what? And then there's also a homophonous independent word, pronoun meaning what place. These are distinct lexical items, but I don't know, I haven't really read into it. But in German, that's definitely the case, right? We've got wovon redest du? Wovon sprichst du? Wofür, matching this. Womit, which looks like vomit, and has the related form damit, which looks like damn it. All these guys, it's always von was, für was, mit was. Mit was sounds really bad. So wo is just a combining variant. Similar to, let's see, combining form. It's kind of an interesting topic. We have sort of compound names like Tibeto-Burman, Malayo-Polynesian, Indo-European. And, right, Sino-Russian, Anglo-Saxon, all those guys with an O in the middle. What I mean by combining form is if you just look at, if you sort of squint and you only look, close one eye, just look at the first component, there is no word Tibeto. It's not meaningful. The Malayo is not a thing. We can relate it by certain well-defined rules to Tibetan and the country named Tibet, here to Malayan, right? But these are combining forms. They're what you use in a compound. So English has them here and there, rarely. Other languages make more systematic use. This is a big one in German, that wo is an allomorph of was. It's just a different case form, is one way to think of it. And flera, meaning many, is related to viele. I believe. I have a numerousness of questions. Let's use a keyword. Several, I have many questions.
Han har inga böcker.
Here's the plural one. The double consonant instead of a single K. And umlaut. Böcker. He has no books. So the negative determiner we can have in Swedish, we've seen it with both singular and plural.
Hon är svaret.
You can do in English too. He has no book, he has no books. Mean exactly the same quantity.
Hon är svaret.
Hon, she, har svaret. Svaret. Etymologically, she has the swear means the answer. Oh, so if you think about where these North Germanic definite forms come from, I think the best story is that a form like svaret, that's where the stem ends, the R, is a reduction of svara, maybe some case form there, svaran or something, that, or that. It may have voiced in this position and then just dropped altogether, and then the at just fused onto the preceding noun. But it means the answer. This is just what I suppose it to have been. Not just language names, also academic fields. Yeah, good. Philosophy, social, cultural. Oh, these are examples, yeah. Socioculture. Yeah, there's no such thing as a socio, unless you were like in a linguistics program and you had your sociolinguistics class, you might abbreviate socio. Anarcho-syndicalism. You get the picture, yeah. Very commonly ending with O. And that O really this goes back to the Indo-European thematic vowel. That's just a name for a common thing. That is when you have a doesn't want my slash O slash. Never mind. But certain in the classical Indo-European languages, certain noun stems and verb stems end with an EO allomorphy. That's just the name for that. It's the thematic vowel. Such as in a case like homo, nominative, and hominem, that goes back to something like the hum, maybe, yeah, like this order. Yum are really an on, with an O grade suffix, and yeah, so the EO grade are just the two. Any Indo-European morpheme could have it, a stem, a root, an affix. They had different vowel grades. But this Latin pair for human being would go back to something like was it aspirated cluster, remembered? N M. So the morpheme boundary Z there. The first one, the kymons for homo, and the kymenem. This on here and the N, they're the same morpheme. E and O, like in Mandarin, allophones of a phoneme. That's not quite right. They're not positional variants like in Chinese. They're just allomorphs. Not allophones, but allomorphs. Thank you. 75. My goodness. That's quite a long time. I usually don't have streaks that long. Alright, yeah, one more. Let's finish up the circle and go on to what other languages are we in the mood for today?
Jag vet inte.
Vet, unlike that kennen one we saw in Dutch, this one means to know a fact, and it takes a sentential object or no object, I believe. Ja is I. Vet inte, I don't know. And vet has a different inflection pattern from the simple present verbs that we've seen.
Vilken bok är din?
Vilken bok. So the N suffix is agreeing with
Vilken.
Which book? Subject. So the N is interesting. Vilken. Unlike German. Welches Buch, if it was masculine, welcher T, an R suffix on the determiner. Swedish has an N. Din is yours, is thine. So is quite different looking from is, but think of R, A-R-E, more closely related.
Vem svarar?
Svara. So this looks like it means whom, but it's generalized in Swedish to all asking about a person who answers. as a verb. Svara. Svara, infinitive.
Pojken frågar flickan.
Both definite. Pojken, the boy, frågar. Flickan asks the girl.
Vilka böcker läser du?
Vilka böcker läser du? What books? Which books do you read? Vilka is the very same word as which book are thine? Very much. And vilka is our word which. Hualik. This also is an allomorph of what? The question stem. Which books, plural? Laser do. What would a laser do? Do you read? Lese, German lesen, L-E-S-E-N. Denote the fronted letter U sound, du.
Vilka böcker läser du?
Läser du.
Vilka böcker är dina?
Vilka, plural, böcker är dina with a suffix. Which books are yours?
Vilket djur är blått?
Note that the DJ written cluster has dropped the D. It's just a djur with a yod initial. Vilket djur, agreement suffix, neuter, är blått. This is also an agreement suffix. Interesting that it's doubled. So it might look like the German word leaf, blatt, but it means something quite different. Which animal är is blue, är blått. So, in an open syllable, this A with the circle diacritic, the AO combination, is a diphthong in modern Swedish, would be blåa. But in a closed syllable, it's a monophthong.
Förstår du inte? Jo, det gör jag.
Jo, det gör jag. Jo, what's that?
Jo.
Yes. Förstår du inte? Don't you understand? Yes, that do I. Yes, I'm doing it. Yes, I do. Jo, det gör jag.
Förstår du inte? Jo, det gör jag.
Jo, det gör jag. So J initial and G have the same sound. So some cases of G before a front vowel.
Kvinnan vet vad boken är.
Vet vad boken är. What's the object of vet? To know. The woman knows. My question really is, what's the structure of the thing that is the complement of the verb? I wouldn't really call it an object. The woman knows. It's true of the English translation too. Var boken är. Those three words together is a dependent question or a noun phrase. However you like to do it. Who knows where the book is? Not a simple noun. It's not headed by the book. It's headed by where, the place. It's headed by a non-present noun. Where does the A and circle letter come from? My guess is that so just as the ash letter unites A with E, this angstrom symbol, let's get it here. No one knows where the book is. Means something between A and O, the canonical A-O tongue positions. It's saying hit the vowel that's intermediate between these two that I'm noting for you. But let's see, Wiktionary is probably a good source for that. Just grab the letter and we can look on Wikipedia itself as well. Looks like an Egyptian symbol in it. Letter A with a ring above, considered an individual letter by most languages where it is used. Okay, there's a little bit of a story here for Danish. The ultimate letter of the Danish alphabet. For its introduction in 1948, the digraph AA was used. Oh, interesting. So it's kind of like the enya in that the circle is an abbreviation of doubling a letter. The Arabic shadda also comes to mind. It's referred to in Danish as bolle oa, and A as doppelt A. Not sure about the sound there. A lot of sound changes in Danish. Bostav, Buchstabe. Ruotsalainen, O is what the Finns call it. So Leinen is a nice suffix that calls to mind Chinese lai. It means coming from Ruotsa, Sweden. It's only in Scandinavian names. Skoltsami. Nice alphabet there. Okay, so let's go to Wikipedia. Tell me, Muse, what is a circle letter? Though Oa is derived from A by adding an overring, it is considered a separate letter, developed as a form of semi-ligature of an A with a smaller O above to denote a long and darker A. A process similar to how the umlaut mark developed from a small E written above certain letters. How beautiful. Love to see some manuscript examples of that development for either case. So, represents two sounds, one short and one long. They don't mention the diphthong in Swedish that I hear. The O sound originally had the same origin as the long A sound in German al and ha, ul, hor, il, hair. Historically, the O derives from the Old Norse long A vowel, spelled with a acute, and in Icelandic, I think they read that one as ow. It's become a real diphthong. Over time, it developed to an O sound in most Scandinavian language varieties. In Swedish and Norwegian, it has eventually reached the pronunciation U. Medieval writing often used doubled letters for long vowels, and the vowel continued to be written as double A. There's plenty of detail there on Wikipedia for that. Great question. Förstår du inte? Ja, det gör jag. Jo. Yes, I do.
Vilket skärp är ditt?
Vilket skärp? Belt. Which belt? Looks like it's related to the word scarf. And it's neuter.
Vilket?
Derived from...
Vilket?
And dit also echoes that. Okay, so the reason it's a double T... Well, what do you think, Levi? Or anybody? Why would it be a single T
Vilket?
T suffix? Vilka. Why is the neuter agreement shown with an ET in this case, and also svara, which we saw? Vilk, stem, suffix, ET, switch, and it's got neuter agreement. And dot. Dit, this one, meaning thine, also shows neuter agreement. I'm not going to put the morpheme boundary, though. Why is it a double T here? Thine, meaning yours, rather. Also neuter gender agreement expressed. What do you think? Why is it a single T, which drops, versus a double T here? Skärp är ditt, which belt is yours?
Vilken hund är din?
So with an animate noun like hund. Vilken, which dog? Welcher Hund for masculine in German. Din. It's yours. I'm used to making.
Varför svarar du inte?
Svarar. Svarar du inte? Varför svarar du inte? Why don't you answer? But what is dit? What would be the structure of that? Good guess, but I don't think it's quite right. Qu'est-ce que c'est dit? We have din, hunden är din. That means thy if it's non-neuter. So I'm calling it CG or animate, CG common gender. However many there are in that class. So I mean, it could be that it's dit plus et, losing its vowel, becoming dit. That's what Levi suggests. But then that just pushes the question back another level. What is dit? which is unattested, I think. Varför svarar du inte?
Vet du varför?
Vet du varför? Do you know? So it's a sentential object here, but it's an abbreviated sentence. D plus double T. So if that's true, it could be, but then what's the double T? And what is D? If so, would it mean that din equals D plus N? Oh, that should be like a boundary. D hyphen. Dickens of a time today. That would mean din might be two morphemes. Can't say that it's impossible, but I think there's a little bit more elegant a possibility. And I want to give you a minute or two more before I reveal my own favorite hypothesis. What do you know? Varför? Why? So I wouldn't say that why and varför are the object of knowing. Doesn't seem like quite the right category. How about din et and dint dit? I like this a lot better. Yeah, maybe there was a dinet, but there almost certainly was a dint by dint of dint. And that kind of a thing. Compare also the fact that the Swedish cognate for thank is now tack. It would have been thunk at an older stage. So there too, a nasal assimilated to the following stop. Thunk becomes tack, loss of the fricative too, and dint becomes dit by loss of that change from nasal to stop. To my mind, that is the best story. So this would be din with nothing added to it. That's the basic one. And dint is the surface form of what's really din plus t, with assimilation happening. Perfectly natural. Change and adjustment to take place. And it matches this other case too. I wonder if there's an example with a labial sequence where you'd have an MP becoming a long P sound. If there was a word like strumpf for sock that was strup. What's Pippi Longstockings in Swedish? What's the form for stockings? Longstocking, the novel. Långstrump. Okay, not strup, but nasal P. That's something else then. Or an exception, something else going on.
Vilka är ni?
Vilken är ni? So there's a really peculiar quality of E in certain words. Listen to the final vowel.
Vilka är ni?
Ni. Like a super tight space above the tongue. Vilka är ni? Don't hear that in other languages so much, but it kind of calls to mind the development of Middle Chinese ni to It's just a sort of assuming of a tongue posture for a moment. Ni.
Vilka är ni?
Which are you? This is
Ni.
Which are you? Which is you? Who are you? Oh, how neat. Not vem. What's going on there? Why do we have vem versus vilka? This is who.
Vilka? Flickan frågar och kvinnan svarar.
Very fascinating here. Flickan, the girl, frågar, asks, och kvinnan svarar. So we have two complete sentences on either side of and. The woman, also definite. Svarar, answers.
Mannen frågar pojken.
Mannen frågar pojken. Are you sure that strange E sound is not just an artifact of the auto-generated voice? Great question. It's good to be skeptical, I'm sure. I've heard it in actual Swedish speech. And if you listen, some Swedish, native Swedish speakers, when they speak English, will carry that habit over. Pojken. So a super high variant of the E vowel, which you have in Mandarin too. The U, Su, and Shi, that vowel is also super high. Super high tongue position. It's like jaw closed and tongue raised. Mannen frågar pojken. Both definite. The man asks the boy.
Förstår du inte? Jo, det gör jag.
Jo, det gör jag. Förstår du inte? Don't you understand? Yeah, so these are cognates. The root is the same. Different prefix under in English, för, meaning like forward and various other things in Swedish. But står and stand, they share a root. Don't you understand? Yes, I do.
Vilka är ni?
Vilka är ni? Who are you? So like which person? Completed the English course. No trivial achievement. So anyway, that's to demonstrate how you can tell a West Germanic language from a North Germanic one by looking at the definite. Whether you're looking at an apparent suffix, as in Swedish just now, or a proclitic word. Now, in Norwegian, interestingly, you see the definite marker in both places, in either place. There's an active alternation happening, but we'll do that another time. I found it terribly confusing last time I did those two languages in the same stream. My poor little brain is not equipped for it. But let's do some German. Me equals you. Like Chinese. Yeah, thank you. That'll be a helpful mnemonic. E. I think in Danish, just E, just the vowel, is the cognate. Also means you. So it's written I means you. And in Esperanto, ni of course means we, and vi is you. Which one is inconvenient homophonies. Sounds like an ancient Athenian or something. Homophonies. Das Bier.
Das Bier.
So this article das, in terms of its form, it makes an exact equation with English that. The D matches the the voiced fricative we have. The A matches our A, and the S matches our T. Going back to a Germanic, I like theta. I like to use 8 to represent a theta, because it looks like a theta. Theta would have been the Germanic form. The wine is masculine, der Wein.
Der Wein.
Taken from German Vinum.
Der Wein ist gut.
In those olden days, or the early borrowings from Latin, nowadays German is very hip about taking the gender along with the noun that it borrows. But in some old Latin ones like this, that system had not. The awareness
Wein.
there, the neuter German noun became a masculine German. The neuter Latin noun was taken into German as a masculine one. Nowadays, more recent borrowings, they correspond. I thought that word means that was das. Yeah, there's many that's in English. I'm talking about the das is the, well, neuter accusative, singular, neuter, definite article, defart. There is also that complementizer that corresponds to a separate word of English. There's also THAT, that. Although they really don't sound alike. One is that and the other is that. Der Wein ist gut. And gut, no suffix, but it agrees underlyingly with the neuter, with the masculine noun Wein. Der Tee, I don't know why this is
Tee.
been helpful. Der Kaffee.
Der Kaffee. Ein Bier, bitte.
Speaking of allophones of R, German's got two important ones. Well, depending on region, this standard High German dialect that we're hearing has a uvular trill in an onset, left of a vowel, and it vocalizes to an ah sound after a vowel. A beer, please. Ein Bier, bitte. Not ein Bier, bitte.
Die Frau trinkt Tee.
Both in Frau and
Trinkt.
have a uvular, although here
Frau. Trinkt.
they both devoiced somewhat by the consonant, maybe just in trinken because it's aspirated. The F could be aspirated too. The woman, it's a feminine one, trinkt Tee, drinks T.
Das schmeckt gut.
Das. So, das can either be an article or it can be a pronoun, which it is here. Stands for a whole noun phrase. That. Schmecken. Schmecken, we have the English cognate smack, to taste of something. Geschmack and schmecken. Tastes, and then just good. This one I think does not agree. This gut. This it looks just like the masculine gut a few sentences ago, but I believe it's an adverb, so it has a different zero ending on there.
Sie hat Durst.
She has thirst. We say she's thirsty with the adjective. Note that the German adjective is not durstig with umlaut, but just durstig. Usually when you add an ig, you mutate the vowel too.
Hast du Durst?
Hast du Durst, because it's a noun, it's capitalized.
Der Kaffee ist gut.
He is good.
Ich trinke Tee.
Ich trinke Tee.
Hast du Durst?
Have you thirst? Are you thirsty? Ich trinke Kaffee. Pizza. Die Pizza. P. So this English word pizza is a special case for the value of the Z letter. That it's a TS cluster, but that's really the only value that it has in German. Maybe in a French or English loan word it'd be Z, but in German words and in borrowings like this, Z, pizza. Die Pizza schmeckt, short vowel there by the way, not like English. What do you feel? I don't know, I think I get varying reports. Those of you watching, does the vowel of the first syllable of English pizza, is it long? Is that an open syllable? Is the breakdown P one syllable and then Z? Or is it, let me use a space, Pete, first syllable, and then another syllable starting with a S. Pete, S. What do you think? Where is the syllable boundary? The better one might be first written more closely phonetically. Ts, pizza, like that. Of those two, which feels more realistic? Schmeckt. You can just say schmeckt also. Has the meaning of taste good without any complement. We're going to match it there. Okay, so we did Dutch, we did Swedish, and German. Let's do a bit of Finnish next. Finna do some Finnish. Russian to do Russian. Now heading for the finish line. Must have skipped it. Let's go. Yeah, there. Blue and white. Cross.
Tyttö,
The girl.
Norja,
Norja.
kylmä,
Kylmä. So it says, I think it must be T boundary S because it doesn't really like initial T. Mitsubishi. I think that's true. There was so the car maker Nissan used to be known as Datsun. I think it was clearly a T boundary S. Mitsubishi, yeah, I believe it is. Mazda, what they've done is describe Mazda. Speaking of car makers, I may have mentioned this a long time ago. Matsu is the pine, and Da is field. It's this Japanese family name, Matsuda, but they spelled it like Ahura Mazda, or Persian religion. Z read in the German or the Greek way, or Italian. Kylmä, so it's kind of like kühl, German. Norja.
Norja,
In Norwegian, it's Norge, Norge. This may preserve an older Germanic final vowel. Väinö, se on Norja. Väinö. Okay, man's name. Se on That is Norway. Se this. It is Norway.
Viro on kaunis maa.
Viro on kaunis maa. I love this word kaunis. Speaking of old Germanic loans. Viro means Estonia. On is kaunis maa, a beautiful country. Ma is a nice word too, with a long vowel. And kaunis comes from, so Finnish. It's not related to Germanic, but it has some old loanwords in it. Skaunis. It simplified the cluster. And this Skaunis in standard German, in the High German language, gives schön. We see the development of an au diphthong in an open syllable when followed by e. It leveled to o, and then the e following mutated to u, but it's still long. Does Greek have the zeta? Yes, Greek zeta is reconstructed as zda in some cases, and in others z, always a cluster basically. And then over the history of Greek, simplifying to just the voiced fricative. So how do we know there was reduplication in some Greek verbs? You have verbs like histemi, means I stand. And you have hisdo. Let's look at histemi first, what it comes from. When you had an old simple S initial, pre-Greek, that regularly became a h. It might have dropped in some words too. But a form like this, siste, we'll just focus on the root, leave off the ending. It's really a reduplication. Histe is from sista, or stista, an older reduplication. So the root there is just that sta, and it was at an underlying stage sort of repeated, say the root twice, and then the first iteration got worn down, simplified as far as its sound structure, until just two segments remain. You have another verb meaning to, I think it's causative, or placing, it's hisdo. Anyway, in the Greek alphabet, it's got a Z, something to do with sitting. It's a parallel verb form. Let's just look it up, what it means. I don't want to be vague about something as important as that. Nice Greek. Ancient. So, these diacritic combinations, kind of reminiscent of Vietnamese. It was rough breathing and acute accented. Zeta, omega. Hizo. What did it mean? To cause to sit, to seat something, place something, set up. And also intransitive, to sit down. So sit and set are the meanings of this one. Hizdo. So that's the spelling, more or less, an approximation. The sound structure would have been like this. Hizdo. A ZD cluster for the letter zeta. And the story is that is exactly parallel to the sista reduplication. This one comes from sid and the root sed in the zero grade. And then your person marker, sisto. So, in this environment, naturally, the S voiced to a Z sound. That's how it's a pretty good reason to think that it was zda, at least in some words in which you had a zeta.
Islanti on pieni.
Note that it's a voiceless T, even though Iceland, in all the Germanic languages, it keeps a D letter there. Islanti on pieni.
On pieni.
Iceland. Millainen maa Viro on. The word order is interesting here. Millainen. What kind of country is Estonia? They say Estonia is in that basic word order.
Suomi on pohjoinen maa.
Pohjoinen, a derived adjective.
Pohjoinen.
Northern. North, northern. So this is the noun phrase, these two together. That's filling out the verb phrase, the predicate. Suomi, Finland, is modern, was it?
Pohjoinen.
Country. So my guess is that Pohjo would be a noun for north. Let's take a look. You can have an H coda in Finnish. Doesn't exist. Pohjoinen. Pohja, bottom or north. Interesting that it's those two meanings. Inen is the suffix. Adapted from the Slavonian dialects, whence the O. Compare dialectal Pohjanen, introduced into the standard language by good old Abraham Poppius. Okay, so they're saying it's a Wielerfricative. Pohjainen. A lot of these words remind me of the word pink. Valjenpunainen. Yeah, the inen would be the adjective suffix, which you see in some Finnish family names too. Pohjainen maa.
Missä sauna on?
Misse. So is there to me? Do I have a sauna? I think. Sauna. Where is Misse? Okay, that makes more sense.
Suomi on pohjoinen maa.
Suomi on pohjoinen, the northern. Pohjoinen maa. And how would you describe the accent pattern in Finnish?
Suomi on pohjoinen maa.
Listen to a few more examples.
Millainen maa Ruotsi on? Millainen maa Ruotsi on? Millainen maa Ruotsi on?
So what kind? No.
Millainen?
What kind of? And then it's Ruotsi, Sweden is. We invert that in English. What kind of country is Sweden? And this Ruotsi comes from a word of related to like the rudder or rowing, something to do with boats and boatsmen. Suomi on Misse. Where is Finland?
Islanti on kylmä maa.
Kylmä, cold. Islanti, Iceland is the subject. On kylmä maa is a cold country. Tämä pohjoinen maa, that northern country on Suomi, is Finland. Millainen maa Ruotsi on? What kind of country is Sweden? Millainen maa Norja on? What kind of country is Norway?
Missä sauna on?
Missä sauna on?
Missä sauna on? Missä sauna on?
Where is the sauna? Roots. Wonder where the Ausländer got their word for this country. The Finn? Yeah, good question. The name of the capital, Helsinki, it's similar to Islanti in writing a voiceless stop there, writing and having one. Helsinki is, I think, from a Swedish name, Helsing. So descendants of someone named Helsa, something like that. Fors. Helsingfors. Anyway, so that's the first component. Let's look up Finn and Helsinki. Go. Helsingfors, that retroflexion. The second component, F-O-R-S. Traditionally considered to have been named after the Swedish province of Hälsingland due to the high number of initial immigrants from there, in turn possibly from hals, neck, throat, and inge, suffix seen in Swedish place names. Or Hälsinge, referring to the rapids. And Finn, where does the word Finn come from, if not from the Finns? Aha. Finnr, Old Norse, referred to the Sami people, way up north. Proto-Germanic Finnas, which see for more. Possible nominalization of unattested Finnis from earlier Finthnis of Vrti. Look at that. We were just learning about Vrti, gerundive, out of the bird. Okay. Of Fantianang. Oh, and this is related to the verb of path, I think. Travel by foot. That's really cool, but I'm going to ask you to cool it for a while. Cool, but cool it. And if you can't, I'm happy to block you.
Tanska, Norja ja Ruotsi.
Tanska, Norja ja Ruotsi. A list of countries. Denmark, Norway, and Ruotsi. Looks like Russia, but it's Sweden.
Olen islantilainen.
Olen islantilainen. Olen is I am, from the verb to be. On in the third singular, olen. I wonder what the story is there. That morphology is not clear. Islantilainen. Indeed. I am an Icelander, I guess. I am Icelandic. Sounds a bit odd. There it is, I guess. I don't know. Never met an Icelander to ask them what they feel about that. Thank you. Islantilainen mies on komea. Means that man is handsome. So I think it's the Icelandic man is attractive. Yep, Icelandic man is handsome. Venäjä. Huh. What do you think of that? Venäjä. From the Wends, maybe? Russia. Hi, how you doing, Richard? Bonjour, comment ça va? Lapsi on saamelainen. Okay, is from Lapland is a little outdated. Asami. Okay, that's a name. The child. Oh, it's child. Huh. The child is Sami. Older names for the Sami people that are now no longer. Can't hear whom? Me? That are no longer acceptable in polite discourse. Te me ma on. Really, thank you for noting. Tell me. Two. Don't understand. I see. Levi, what do you think? Is the sound hard to hear? I've got a mic in the other room. I can just go grab it. One person saying that it's broken is enough. I'll be right back. Let me leave you with my interesting. Levi says you can hear just fine. Let me just grab it and hope that settles the issue. I'll leave you in the hands of my colleague for a moment.
아이가 김밥을 먹어요.
김밥을 sounds tense in the middle.
김밥을 아이가 김밥을 먹어요.
What I mean by that? Kimbap, this word for like a sushi like food. Aika, let's translate it first. Get that out of the way. For type, a little more challenging. 아이가, the child. 김밥을 먹어요. The verb is eats. At the end, 먹어요. 김밥을, marked specifically as object, is gimbap. Which in RR, revised romanization, is spelled like that. So I'm looking at Korean. Oh yeah, let's turn that off. And okay, eats kimbap.
김밥을
So the letter for letter, the way the word is spelled, kim first syllable, and then another syllable. RR, revised romanization, is the official way to write Korean names and words, phrases, with letters of the Latin alphabet, like we're doing here. For short, RR. Promulgated by the South Korean government. Romanization, I think in the year 2000. That's what we're using. It's a very good system, very well designed, does what it is intended to do very elegantly, but it's not an exhaustive or an exact one-to-one. Oops, pardon me. Representation of the writing system or the sound system. It can't really be all of those things. It's got to be some sort of compromise. That's one of them. All right, is that any better? What is shooters? I don't know. Room tour. I don't know what that's asking. Sorry, I'm 40, so I don't know all the newer terms in internet speak. The last decade. Gotta have a little patience with me. Or accommodate me, please. Temema on Weine. 안녕하세요. 리차드 씨는 한국 사람이에요? 이나 한국어를 배워요. Let's see, what would it be in the seyo? 배우세요? 배웁니까? Temema on Bene. We got that.
Musti on iso suomalainen koira.
Musti, I think it's a name, on iso suomalainen koira. Iso is
Iso.
big. Suomalainen koira. It's the adjective order. Try one after. Afraid I don't follow you. Is the sound any better with the mic? Maybe I'll move it over here close. Not really using this space. Yeah. Should do. Let me know what you think. Much good. Glad to hear that. Is it? No, it's just at the bottom of the screen. Okay. Musti on. On means is. Iso is a big Finnish dog.
Olen virolainen.
Olen virolainen. I am virolainen. It's derived from the name of Estonia. So it might be sort of ablative case, ablatival, from a place of origin. And it's Estonia. 2. I am Estonian. Alright. As you wish. Where does this name come from if it's so different from the Finnish name? Estonia, medieval Latin, Estia, Hestia, possibly derived from the tribal name Aisti, described by the Roman historian Tacitus in Germania. Displaced Middle English Estland and Old Norse Eistland. Interesting. Hesti. Olen virolainen.
Onko Ruotsi kylmä maa?
So it's that is verb again with a question particle. Ko. Is Sweden kylmä maa a cold country? Onko Ruotsi kylmä maa. So to mark the question, we've both moved the on, the verb, to the front and given it a special particle. So it's kind of two birds, but very clear what it's doing. Asking a question.
Olen virolainen.
Virolainen. So each vowel is sounded one by one in a nice regular beat. It might be good to sort of break down the language or break down the streams into really simple phonetic languages and then really hard ones phonetically, like Irish, where the letters to the sounds are not one to one. Olen virolainen, I am Estonian. Missä Venäjä on? Where Russia is. Where is Russia? Onko Islanti? So is Iceland a big country, not a rapid country? Mies on saamelainen. The man is Sami. Ethnicity or tribal identity.
Tanska on pieni.
Tanska on pieni. Note the T for the Danish din, the Norse original with a D. Denmark. On is. Pieni, small. Sound of the country name spelled this way in Danish. Like Danmark, you might expect, but the N colors the A to an N. Denmark. Which is why we spell it with an E. It sounds like that. Sorry. Well, thanks for stopping by. Come and see us again. Don't sorry. Give us a follow if you like. We're here just about every evening around 9ish. Tanska on pieni.
Olen virolainen.
Olen, I am. Virolainen, Estonian. Ethnicity, nationality rather. City, kaupunki. This one.
Kaupunki.
This has a nice history. Kaupunki for a city. The Finnish word is an old Germanic loan too. And the Germanic word came from Latin in term. It was kaupu, the merchant, an on stem. Kaupu, kaupunis. Merchant, peddler, that kind of thing. Salesman, commerce guy. Peddler with an E. And that's where we get German kaufen, Kaufmann. Kaufman's probably like a back formation. Kaufmann might be the older word for a merchant, man who does the kaupo thing. And English has the name Chapman, same compound. And our now adjective cheap used to be a noun. These are all from this Latin, kaupo. And kaupunki, the ungi suffix, also Germanic, I think, meaning like a collective of merchants. The kaupo thing is also there in the city name of Copenhagen. It means a haven for merchants. København with the O slash, Køben, using it in a different sense here, and then haven like that, I think. This Køben, the first component, is genitive plural, kaupona or something. E at the end added because apparently you couldn't have a final consonant like that, or at least it's not that cluster. And only had voiceless stops apparently. No F. Well, I guess it wouldn't have been an F necessarily, but it's a very small set of sounds. Actually quite close to what you have in Japanese as far as the consonant inventory. Viikinki.
Viikinki. Pohjoinen kaupunki on pieni.
Northern city is small. Pohjoinen kaupunki on pieni. Missä norjalainen poika on? Where is the norjalainen boy? The boy from the Norwegian boy. That's an interesting word. When you look at the structure of it, it's a Latin suffix ian, like in Christian. Put it on many names, like Cartesian, Hobbesian, Shakespearean, but on a Germanic country name, Norweg, and then Ian. Kind of like Iceland followed by the ik. Ik is from Greek, so it's kind of a mismatched word. German has the French rather. For Frankish, it uses this form, Francique, because Francais is kind of taken by the name of the Romance language. Where is the Norwegian not by, but boy? Poike of Swedish for boy is borrowed from this Finnish word. In Finnish, it's an OI sequence. Finnish has a contrast OJ versus OI, sequence of vowels. OI versus OI. Where's the Norwegian?
Laulu on virolainen.
So here it's A-I, two vowels, two short vowels. Why the word Cartesian? Exactly. Isn't that interesting? That's, to my knowledge, one of the most fascinating name allomorphies, because Descartes is really a phrase. So in a derivational form like that, it wasn't felt as inherently part of the name. It's just the phrase that the name is usually mentioned in. But the name itself was, I guess, felt to begin with this, to consist of that second word, and then you apply the usual English stress rules. It's before the syllable before the en suffix is added, gives you a long e, Tesian, Cartesian, Cartesian. But as far as superficial differences from like an input name to the output of a rule is this, one of my favorites. From the name Mark, that's the name of the New Testament book, you have this Irish derivative, quark. So think about what that might reflect. What's the other morpheme that was added to Mark to give quark? Laulu on virolainen. Must be a name. Well, it mustn't be, but I'm guessing it is. Laulu on is virolainen from Estonia. Estonian song. I should have looked.
Hyvä laulu on islantilainen.
Hyvä. Pointing word, I think, right? This laulu song
Hyvä laulu on islantilainen.
on Islantilainen from Iceland, Icelandic. The good song, hyvä. Hyvä laulu. The good song is Icelandic. Onko hen? Ooh, how's that going to be read? Shamani. I've never seen a sh in a Finnish word before. Is he? It happens to look like the Norse word, han or hen, which also means he. Is he a shaman? Yes, right? So how's that pronounced? How intriguing. Oops, got that. Shamani. Sh. Okay, there was a S modified by Hacek to write sh, apparently, in Finnish at some stage. So look at all the different cases. Nominative accusative, of which there were two flavors. A nominative accusative, or an accusative nominative, and accusative genitive. Partitive, inessive, elative, illative, adessive, ablative, allative, essive, translative, instructive, how cool. Abessive, being away, committative, going away. Okay, so is he a shaman?
Bändi on suomalainen.
Is it a name or noun?
Bändi
And so now, with this recent
on.
Germanic language, like the English from the look of it, we can have an ND cluster, nasal and a voice stop. That wasn't available in older Finnish loans. So Levi says the M gets lenited. Yeah, that's it, exactly. Lenited, yeah. Or maybe even, speaking of K from the beginning, I like to think of it as lenited to the W. Exactly, okay, we're talking about Mark Quark, yeah. So disjointed to have the gap and then also be doing sentence after disconnected sentence in Finnish. The W, yeah, exactly. The K from the beginning is chopping off of Mark. So I guess it would have been IRC. I could look it up real quick. It's just right here in my book of surnames. It would have been the son of Mark. So Mark in the genitive, I believe it would palatalize the final, and it would lenite the initial Makvark. So that would have been anglicized as M with or without A, C, and then quark, resegmenting it. And then losing the prefix. What I'm looking in is a dictionary of surnames by Hanks and Hodges from the 80s, I think. I'm just going to check on the spelling for that quark, the origin of it. Do you know the origin of these Welsh names? Levi, Price, and Prentice. There's also Pugh. These are Welsh family names. Quark is just under its position. So it derives that name Quark from Manx, the Celtic language of the Isle of Man, and it spells it Makvark, just like I put there, yeah. Aphetic form, so chopping off the first syllable. M-A-C for the son, Vark, meaning of Mark. Varch, I guess. Patronymic from the given name Mark. Can also be spelled with a final C, H, or G. The Manx is the dialect name, the Celtic language of the Isle of Man. Speaking of mens in Dutch, Manx would reflect, I think, a word like mannisk, quite similar to the word for human, with metathesis of the S and the K. The band is Finnish. It didn't ever occur to me until just the other day that the ish form, the adjective Finnish, has a double N, but the country name has a single N, Finland. So, speaking of combining forms and polymorphs, don't know the origin of the Welsh names, but I'm guessing something. Yep, B is a clipping of. Very good. Yes, that's what led me to it. Ap Rhys, descendant of Rhys. Ap. Oh, prentice, I guess is something different. Prentice is as a shortening of the word apprentice. Never mind, that got in there by mistake. But Pew is Ap, A-B or A-P, and the root there is Hugh. Oh, so that Pew, P-U-G-H, would have been more opaque, I guess, to Americans, and that one got respelled as P-E-W, as in the name of the survey organization, pollsters. Mise Norja Kissa on. Kissa, I forget. Cat. Okay. So the adjective form Norjalainen. Where is the Norwegian cat? Olet, you are Venelainen. 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 You are from Russia. You're Russian. That's Pohjoinen kaupunki. Northern city on piene is small. Yeah. Now kaupunki works much better in that slot than the adjective kaunis. Beautiful. Hen on shamani. is a shaman. What's she in Finnish? Also hen. Irish is called gailge, Scottish is Gaelic, and Manx dialect is gailg. Yep, we have the name of the branch. This is the Q Celtic branch called Goidelic. So you see different outcomes of the sound changes. Lenition of the D versus plain deletion. Godly. Respelling in Irish a century ago. Koira on söpö. Dog is cute, so it's going to be an adjective. Venäläinen. Koira on söpö. And note the vowel harmony. We have einen with what country names? Ruotsalainen, Islantilainen. But here leinen at the end with an a front vowel. Venäläinen. Koira, the Russian dog, is cute.
Onko norjalainen kissa viikinki?
Onko norjalainen kissa viikinki? And it sounds like this N is not velar.
Viikinki.
Is it?
Onko norjalainen kissa viikinki?
Viikinki. It might still be alveolar. But take it with a grain of salt. It's computer generated. So is the Norwegian cat subject? A Viking fills out the verb phrase.
Onko bändi islantilainen?
Onko bändi? So is the band Icelandic? Islantilainen. So I guess the vowel harmony is just not applying here.
Islantilainen.
Here an E at the end of the stem, I might expect an A, but this word may be just too recent in the language to be affected by that rule. Onko is the band Icelandic?
Laulu on virolainen.
Laulu on virolainen. The song is Estonian. Let's round it out. Cell phone.
Auto. Kaupunki.
Is it eng or n for the K? Kaupunki. Kaupunki.
Kaupunki.
It's eng.
Kännykkä.
Kennykkä. Kennykkä. I like the two long consonants there. Kennykkä.
Auto. Minulla on kännykkä.
Minulla on, that's a possessive construction. To me, in my possession, is cell phone. I have a cell phone. But note that I is not the subject in Finnish. That would be the cell phone at the end, I guess. So an unusual word order, not the standard one. Subject postponed.
Missä tanskalainen on?
Missä tanskalainen on? Where is the Danish person? The Dane.
Hänellä on saamelainen nimi.
Hänellä in his possession is a Sami something.
Nimi.
He has a Sami name. Mika. Hän on tanskalainen adjective. He's Danish. Väinö, onko sinulla norjalainen kissa? Onko sinulla? Keyboard on the cell phone in the picture only has 11 letters. Scandalous. And these cartoon hands better have 5 fingers. Better be quid digital. Väinö. That's the name, right? Onko is your cat. Onko, do you have a Norwegian cat? Is it in your possession? Yep, forgot the cat.
Ruotsalainen lapsi on todella pieni.
Swedish child is todella pieni, very small.
Olen ruotsalainen.
I am, right? I am ruotsalainen, Swedish.
Miikka.
Long E, long
Miikka.
letters double to show length. Minulla on venäläinen nimi. I have a Russian name. Miikka. Minulla on sininen auto. Is that a Chinese car? Blue car. That's close. Sininen. So I wonder if the root there is sin or sini or what. But inen, I think, would be the best candidate for the basic shape with the suffix. Sininen auto, blue car. Miikka, missä auto on? Where is the car, Mika? Not Wika. Oh, I thought of, that name Wario? I thought of a sort of resonance that name would have to a Japanese ear earlier today. The sort of evil twin, I guess, of Mario. I don't know his origin story. Looks like a Celtic lineation. But Japanese has this nice adjectival, or verbal adjective, warui, meaning bad, evil, wicked. Ribai-san, warui no kanji ga shitte imasu ka? Mika, missä auto on? Dude, where's my car? Minulla on ruotsalainen nimi. I have a Swedish name. Adjective is needed. Väinö, sinulla suomalainen nimi. Onko, is it to you? The question particle there, ko. Väinö, onko sinulla norjalainen kissa? Name Väinö. Do you have norjalainen kissa, a Norwegian cat? So apparently Finnish people are really concerned with the nationality of pets, is what I take away. Is my takeaway from this lesson. They will not stop talking about it. They're pet racists. JK. Speaking of kanji, let's do a bit of Chinese today. So, Levi, do you know that warui kanji? It's a shinjitai simplification. Let me add one of my new favorite resources. その漢字はしません。知りませんですよ。I don't do it. My question was 知って do you know it? 知りこれません。はい。教えますよ。So, it's got the original thing above depicted a hunchback, I believe, this figure, and we just simplified it MM, and below it's got a heart. So, because of the 2 plus 3 rule, just the first and last part, MMP gets you the kanji. And the shinjitai, let's do it here. Clear, we're on Japanese right now. It writes 1, 2, 3, 4 sets up an enclosure. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 悪い. And simplified Chinese. So like in Yajo, Asia, that's this shape. That's the simplification there, and the standard heart below. This one read as or I think more commonly for wicked, bad. E4, for is also a classical reading as a verb to hate something, to detest. Right. So on to Mandarin. What were we just doing? finish. I didn't note that here. Hello, it seems you have not filed your taxes. Do you want to provide a reason why? Would you like to get banned? Don't mean to offer it so much in one go.
动
Not interested. Nonsense.
骑
To ride, so we got the horse to remind us of the meaning. Qi. And it really depicts, this is, I think, this bit on the left, which now means curious, marvelous. K-M-N-R. This was originally depicted a little guy riding a thing, with the phonetic component below, right? The da figure on top is riding, and the verb is now written with this. Okay, noted. Thank you. Thank you very much. Very kind. Got it. Qi.
骑 运
Yun is transport, convey, and also fortune. Good fortune, good luck. It is BJ. Why BJJ? Yun is the traditional shape for it.
马
The horse. 3 strokes. Yun. So from left,
马
qi,
骑
ride, dong,
动
yun.
运
By the way, these two,
运动
they mean sports in that order, and they share a simplified shape there. So yun and dong is HGKS. Being a little silly there. These two characters, they're now written with this shape abbreviation. Oh my goodness. MMI. Okay. Another one of those days. It's a cloud shape. That one. Just arbitrarily used as a abbreviation in both words.
运
There's no similarities. Horse, ma.
马，
他们每星期3骑3个小时的马
So, it flies by pretty quick. Let's build it up from the right. Ma with a d. So something modifying horse, horses. 小时的马, horse of an hour. Horse of hours makes little sense. 3个小时的马, a horse of 3 hours. A little difficult to see. 骑 is the verb to ride. To ride 3 hours of horse. Why is it that ni? Why is that ni plus mu shape a cloud? Why is it a cloud? Well, interesting construction there. But it comes from an old depiction of a cloud, which we'll probably find here. The part on the bottom, the eye shape, mu, was much more round. It was really circular, basically. Let's see. Zoom out a bit. Here we go. Here's an old cloud drawing. And another. Cloudy enough for you? So it's just a squaring off of this business below. Similar thing happens in the silk cocoon thing with silk thread, VIF. It's a squaring off in the modern form, but anciently depicted a cocoon gracefully round. This one is not really used in any Chinese compounds. I don't know what the reading is. Meat. I think very much as a living word, but an important component. Here we go. This is, it doesn't really get more round than this sine wave or double helix kind of shape. It's an old form of silk. Silky. 他们每星期三, 星期三, they every Wednesday. The subject is out in front, the doer, they ride 3 hours of horse. Ride horses for 3 hours is a good English way to express that. They go riding for 3 hours every Wednesday. So kind of serial verb here. Go inflected. 动
动
to move, basically. 运 we can't hear now.
他不做运动，只喜欢睡觉。
He doesn't do sports. He just likes sleeping. He only likes to sleep. So this 只 limiting only. 喜欢睡觉. So 喜欢 to like can take either a noun or a verb as its complement. Like an action or a thing. 马 the horse.
马
Here we go.
马
骑
骑
has the horse as a component. 运
运
足
足
foot or suffice.
动。我的妹妹喜欢骑马。
我的妹妹喜欢骑马. My little sister likes to go riding. 喜欢 So in that 骑马 is a typical example of a verb-object sequence. English uses an intransitive ride, go riding. But Chinese really prefers things to be VO, verb-object, so much so that things that are not really verb plus object get reinterpreted that way. Enjoys riding horses. Likes to go riding. 骑马. Well, I think it would be the very same construction. Protest here. 骑 to ride.
骑马
动
动
跑 to run.
跑
运
运。
fate.
你最喜欢做什么运动？
最喜欢做什么运动 What sport do you like doing the most?
骑马是他最爱的运动。
Another fun bit. 骑马 riding horses 是他最爱的运动 is his favorite activity or sport. So we're through simplified writing. It's good to review it. I've set it aside for many years. Stuck to the traditional shapes. But now we'll turn to the modern. So it's used in the mainland, where the bulk of the Chinese-speaking world is, and also now in Singapore, and it's used at the UN, the simplified forms of characters specifically. Let's hear it again.
骑马是他最爱的运动。
So the subject in this one is really a verb phrase. Riding horses is his favorite activity. Very first word, ride. 1, 2, 3 for the horse shape now. And then a da. And a ke phonetic. Writes qi. Qi ma. I'm going to cheat a little. Just backstep my way to a horse. 骑马是. We get the verb to be. A-M-Y-O, little off center, but I got it. 是他 doesn't mean it is him. We have a longer phrase here. His favorite sport means sport which he likes most. 他最 writes a nice broad one, and then the ear S J, end it with an E shape. 最 the most. 喜 G-R T-R. Almost always followed by 欢 in Chinese, this character. 喜欢 to joyfully enjoy something, kind of a tautological one. To cherish and rejoice, maybe, I don't know. 喜欢是他最喜欢的运动 right? His favorite sport. So this the is a very important word particle. H-A-P-I. and it takes everything, well, not everything, but it comes at the end of a phrase of stuff that's modifying a noun. So all of this here that I highlighted, 他最喜欢的, such that he likes it best. And then the head noun, 运动, sport. So we write the MMI figure first and give that the Y enclosure. Oh no. Lost a bunch. 是他最喜欢的，他最喜欢. Okay, because I highlighted it, it got deleted there by mistake. 他, just grab it here. 最 ASJE. So in the express input, 他 will be OD. 最 will be AE. What a day. Foiled everywhere. These OD. PD. 他 ASJE. 最 喜欢 GRTR. And it predicts Juan helpfully. The. So I'm going to convert this and grab it. 是他最喜欢. Let's grab the. And again, that's an H, A, P, I. Got a little out of control. There we go. The 运动. Right? MMI again. And KS for the knife. Strength, rather, not the knife. 动, silly me.
骑马是他最爱的运动。
是他最爱的运动 is his favorite sport. 最爱的 not 喜欢。
妈妈很喜欢骑马。
妈妈很喜欢骑马。Mom likes to ride horses.
骑马是他最爱的运动。
骑马是他最爱的运动。Riding is her favorite sport. It's going to be whales.
我的妹妹喜欢骑马。
我的妹妹喜欢骑马。My little sister likes to ride horses.
骑马是她最爱的运动。
骑马是她最 Let's replace that with I. So the simplification writes. Gotta recall there. What does it write? I. It's still this B thing on top. But then it's another B. And then yo. Is that right? I believe so. No. I. 对不对? Let's put it in the other lookup. Let's say 原文. Okay, it's not what I'm looking for. Actually, paste again. Alright, in traditional BBPE, of course it's not working. Just curse at this hour trying to do it. There it is. I. If we simplify, yeah, BB and then KE writes it. BB, of course not. Never mind. But this is I to love. Simplified. We're going to plop that in. 最爱的运动.
骑马是她最爱的运动。
Riding horses is her favorite sport. My eyes are getting a little sleepy. I bid you all a pleasant evening and hope to see you again soon.